Okay, we are way up here in New Hampshire, Jeff.
Yeah.
We can't be far from the Canadian border.
No, maybe like 5 or 10 miles from the border.
Wow.
But we are getting close to our destination. We just entered the town of Pittsburg here on Route 3. And it's a perfect place to celebrate Independence Day because it was here that a new nation was born long ago. A beacon of democracy for all to see.
Wait, Pittsburg?
Pittsburg, I know, it's a little confusing. Pittsburg, New Hampshire. No H at the end.
Gotcha.
Yeah, making it different. And a much smaller version than the more famous Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Plus, I don't think the folks in Pittsburgh, New Hampshire put French fries on their sandwiches like they do in Pennsylvania.
Doesn't mean they shouldn't at least try it.
I agree. I've had it. It's really, actually quite good. Anyway, pull over here across the street from the Pittsburgh Town Green. We're just about to leave the country.
All right, now what do you mean about to leave the country? We're standing at the town green of Pittsburgh, New Hampshire.
Yeah, that's right, but this wasn't always New Hampshire.
I get it. So the Canadian border used to be over here?
Well, yeah, but we're not going to Canada either. We're going to explore the epicenter of where colonists broke away from tyranny and formed a new democratic republic that could serve as a shining beacon for the world to see. This Independence Day, we're going to witness the birth of a nation. I'm Jeff Belanger, and welcome to episode 305, the Independence Day special of the New England Legends podcast.
And I'm Ray Auger. We are thrilled that you've joined your towny buddies, Jeff and Ray, on an adventure through a very strange place we call New England. We're always on the hunt for strange tales of ghosts, monsters, aliens, roadside oddities, and strange history. And we get most of our story leads from you. So please feel free to reach out to us anytime through our website. We love hearing from you.
And we love when you share this podcast with your friends. Great things happen when we build this community. We'll go searching for this beacon of democracy right after this quick word from this sponsor.
Okay, Jeff, Pittsburgh, New Hampshire.
Yep.
The population is less than 1,000 people today, but the town green is a pretty spot. There's a white gazebo, a memorial to local war veterans in front of some flags. There's a few benches and trees. Yeah. It looks pretty similar to lots of small town greens. Mm-hmm. Great place for a picnic or outdoor music or festivals.
Agreed. And this region of northern New Hampshire is beautiful, especially in the summertime.
Well, there's a lot to like about New Hampshire. Cheap booze, no sales tax, and the most badass license plate slogan in the United States.
Live free or die.
Right.
Absolutely. The famous General John Stark quote. And if we're talking about the nation's lowest tax burden, New Hampshire ranks third. Not too shabby. Taxes, it turns out, was the reason for all this fuss regarding this new nation we're standing in front of right now.
Nobody ever has or ever will like taxes. Wars get fought over them. Like, for example, America's War for Independence.
Very true. And borders get redrawn because of those wars. Ever try to tax someone's tea in Boston? It doesn't go well.
No, it doesn't.
So there was a time back in the early 1800s when this land, right where we're standing, was caught in a bureaucratic struggle. Canada, which was a British territory at the time, believed they owned this land based on the 1783 Treaty of Paris. And the United States also believed that they owned this land based on the 1783 Treaty of Paris.
But they both can't be right.
No, they can't. And the confusion came because that treaty states the Canadian-U.S. border would be drawn at, quote, the northwesternmost head of the Connecticut River, which seems simple enough until you get here and you see that there's 3 tributaries that feed off the head of the Connecticut River. So there was about 290 square miles of gray area here. Both Britain and the United States assumed that the land was theirs because they both wanted as much land as possible. And both sides sent in tax collectors and debt-collecting sheriffs.
Oh, I can't imagine that was well received by people living here.
Not at all.
So you could have 2 people knocking on your door the same day, collecting taxes for 2 different governments?
Right.
Yeah, I can't imagine I'd stand for that.
No, you wouldn't. And neither did people living here. So let's head back to 1832 and meet the people who referred to themselves as the Streamers.
It's July 4th, 1832. And America is celebrating its independence with fireworks, picnics, and music. There are still old-timers around who were young during the American Revolution. They remember the sacrifices their families and parents and grandparents made for independence. It's a proud time. But here in northern New Hampshire, near the Connecticut River, Lake Francis, and the Connecticut Lakes, people are angry.
They're beyond angry. The people who live in this region they call Indian Stream want to celebrate their independence. A time when we commemorate breaking away from England because of taxation without representation, among other reasons. But these folks find themselves in the unique place of being caught between two countries, both of which are taxing them.
It's been years of confusion in this gray area caught between two countries. Meanwhile, folks living here are just trying to raise their families and get by just like everyone else. Neither the United States or Britain are quite sure how to deal with them, but both countries are positive they want the tax revenue.
On this particular morning, the British sheriff comes to town. He's been summoned because a local man named Luther Parker, who owns a mill and store near Fletcher's Mill near the mouth of Back Lake Brook, has been accused of holding a quantity of lumber that belongs to one of his customers. Parker believes he's owed money, so he's withholding the lumber. His customer sees it differently.
This is the kind of legal dispute that's usually sorted out in a local or regional court.
Exactly.
But if you have no country, you have no court.
That's true, too. And now we have a British sheriff from the Canadian side coming for Luther Parker to settle this dispute.
You, sir, are under arrest.
Luther asks, in whose name is he under arrest?
In the name of the king,
is the reply.
Luther Parker is hauled off in shackles to Canada to sit in jail at a judge's house while they await the hearing.
Meanwhile, back home, locals are incensed. I mean, they're not sure who's in the right or who's in the wrong in terms of this legal dispute, but they do know a British sheriff just arrested one of their own and took him away. In short, this will not stand.
A posse forms in town and invades Canada with the judge's house as their target. The posse shoots at the judge's house. They don't intend to kill anyone, just get the attention of, say, the judge, Canada, the United States, President Andrew Jackson, but the King of England?
That mission was accomplished. The posse brings Luther Parker back home, but in doing so, they create an international incident over a petty crime. But that incident forces this community to decide that Indian Stream shouldn't belong to Canada, Britain, or the United States. It's July 9th, 1832. They draw up a constitution.
The people inhabiting the territory formerly called Indian Stream Territory do hereby solemnly and mutually agree with each other to form themselves into a body politic by the name of Indian Stream, and in that capacity to exercise all the powers of a free, sovereign, and independent state, so far as it relates to our own internal government, till such time as we can ascertain to what government we properly belong.
And the Republic of Indian Stream is born. They don't intend to be their own country forever, just until the United States and Britain can sort out where the border should lie.
Now, to their credit, the Streamers, as they call themselves, don't quit at this introductory paragraph. They write a lengthy document outlining everyone's rights.
Article 1st. All men are born equally free and independent. Therefore, all government of right originates from the people, is founded in common consent, and instituted for the public good. Article 2nd. Every man has a natural, essential, and unalienable right to worship God according to the dictates of his own conscience and reason, and is not accountable to any human tribunal for his religious opinions or practices, provided he does not encroach.
They go on and on, outlining legal rights, how to settle disputes, how to vote, how often, and so on.
This language doesn't sound radically different from the United States Constitution and the Bill of Rights.
No, it's not that different at all. So this new nation, called the Republic of Indian Stream, encompasses about 290 square miles. And being sovereign, they're not entitled to the protections of either the United States or Britain. But they didn't feel like they needed that protection anyway.
The Streamers operate their little democracy. They hold elections, they allow residents to vote on issues, and any taxes collected go directly to benefit their own community.
For 3 years, the Republic of Indian Stream survives as its own democratic nation, until August 5th, 1835, when New Hampshire and the United States annex this territory. The Streamers vote to accept inclusion into New Hampshire. and the motion passes. The Republic of Indian Stream changes its name to Pittsburg and becomes the largest township in all of New England by land area. And that brings us back to today.
And Pittsburg is still the largest township in New England by area.
And here on the town green sits an official New Hampshire state historic marker giving a nod to this short-lived country. Go ahead and give it a read, Ray.
Okay. It says, Republic of Indian Stream. In 1832, the settlers of the area between Indian Stream and Hall Stream, claimed by both Canada and the United States, set up the independent Republic of Indian Stream. Yielding to New Hampshire in 1836, Indian Stream became part of Pittsburg, and in 1842 was recognized by treaty as United States territory.
Now, most of what we know about this story comes from the 1915 book titled The Indian Stream Republic and Luther Parker, published by the New Hampshire Historical Society.
Now, if you're a history nerd, the book is worth reading. It details the whole story in the Constitution they wrote.
All but forgotten, a democratic nation formed right here in northern New Hampshire. They saw injustice, double taxation, and that their residents could be arrested by either of two countries, and they opted out. They declared their independence. They made their own fair rules and kept order amongst themselves.
You gotta love that independent spirit. They used pen and paper to right a bureaucratic wrong, and a new nation was born.
Happy Independence Day, Ray.
And happy Independence Day to you, Jeff.
And that brings us to After the Legend, where we take a deeper dive into this week's story and sometimes veer off course.
After the Legend is brought to you by you, our Patreon patrons. Our patrons make this show happen. They financially support us because they know great content isn't free. They help us with our hosting costs, travel costs, marketing, and so much more. We couldn't do it without them. It's just $3 per month, and you get early access to new episodes, plus bonus episodes and content that no one else gets to hear. Just head over to patreon.com/New England Legends to sign up.
And if you'd like to see some pictures related to this week's episode, you can click on the link in the episode description or head to our website and click on episode 305. We also posted a link to read the Constitution of the Republic of Indian Springs online for free if you want to check that out as well.
You're welcome.
Yes, you're welcome. It is really interesting. It's on archive.org, which is a great resource. You can read the whole thing. We'll put a link. But I mean, they really sat down and they didn't throw this thing together. They're just like, okay, we're going to break away. We're going to be independent. They recognize that this isn't going to be forever, that these countries have to sort it out. I don't think they even cared too much whether they were Canadians or Americans, right?
That's nice.
Well, they're right on the border. And
they're
just
humans.
They're humans. They're just like, look, I've got a farm. I've got a business. That has to go on no matter whose flag flies over my land. Right. And I think people in border towns sort of identify with both countries quite often.
Sure.
Right? Where you're just like, well, shoot, I go for lunch over there. I have friends over there.
Right.
So anyway, but they created this nation. And I love some of it. I just wanted to read one more. I mean, we didn't want to go on and on in the story with all these articles. There's pages of them. But Article the 4th, when men enter into a state of society, they surrender up some of their natural rights to that society in order to secure the protection of others. I thought that was kind of nice.
Yeah.
Kind of, you know what that says? Like, don't be a jerk. Right.
Basically.
That's what it basically says. Like,
a good
hey,
neighbor. We're
we're going to live amongst each other. That means that you can't do anything you want, whenever you want, however you want.
Yeah.
It means we're going to try to get along. And they literally put a country together. And that's pretty awesome.
This happens all the time, by the way, but it's usually people out in the woods that just start their own society.
Right.
These people were a little bit more
Organized.
a little bit more organized, put a little bit more thought into it. Yeah.
And really good thoughts. It's worth reading if you're one of these people that are history nerds or whatever. It's really something. And I mean, imagine though, someone comes to collect your taxes and you go, yeah, I get it. I owe taxes. We do. Death and taxes, that's life. But then someone else is like, yeah, you owe them to Canada too. But I just paid them. I literally, but you can't double tax
It's a little
me.
mobby, isn't it? It's a little,
You need our protection. I'm like, but I've got their protection.
Yeah.
You know, I mean.
Who's going to protect you from them though?
Oh,
we will.
No.
Yeah.
Right? And
it's just a vicious circle.
It's terrible. Like I can't imagine any red-blooded human being anywhere would put up with two countries saying, hey, I got to tax your property now too. Because
no wonder they put their foot down.
Of course they did. Yeah, both of them. And you would know. And so this town, the population's like 900 people.
Yeah,
over 290 square miles. That's that's a lot of room.
Yeah,
and it's just this small town that was once its own nation, its own sovereign nation for a few years, and people sort of forget about it. It's not the only story like that in the United States. There was a couple of others examples, but I love this New England one. I love the idea that, they said, all right, this isn't right. We're smart people. We'll sit down, and I'm sure it was a tavern.
Yeah, well, I was just going to say, it must have been fun, I think. It was like they got all excited. Oh, let's do this. This is going to be great.
Our flag should have beer on it. Yeah.
Oh, they were drunk when they did this. Somebody who came up with this idea had a few pops.
Another round. Absolutely.
Yeah. How many great ideas have we all come up with after we've been drinking?
We'll read it again tomorrow, but just write it all down for now, right? This is the first draft. Have fun with it. Yeah. The flag will have beer on it like that. We'll call Mondays Beer Day now. Right?
The next day, somebody's crossing things off, going, "Who wrote this?
Monday
What
beer
is
day.
going? What were we thinking?"
Tuesday can't be wing day. No. We're not, You got drunk with power is what happened. We're just going to look out for each other, take care of our land.
Make this simple.
Make it simple. Vote, and each person has a voice, and so on.
Other than going back in time, have you ever been up that far?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I
don't think I've never been to the border.
Yeah, I mean, well,
in present day,
the thing is, it's all forest once you get up that far. There's not too many people live up there.
There's no big border towns.
That's not in New Hampshire,
not far away. Yeah,
yeah.
I'm sure across the way there's something.
Yeah, sure. But yeah, that's the kind of place. Well, we've done other stories in the past about bootleggers.
Yes,
you think of Chicago and whatever, but no. There was tons of New England bootleggers because Canada. Booze was still legal.
Yeah. The very famous female bootlegger.
That's right. We did a great story on her. I think the bootlegger of Vermont, right?
Yeah.
The queen of the bootleggers, they called her. But yeah, you would just drive up north and go right across the border. Back then, there wasn't even border or anything. It was just you were in America, then you were in Canada.
Right.
You drove, you got what you needed, and you drove back.
You didn't need any paperwork.
Nope. No passports. You just drove. In fact, you didn't need a passport to go to Canada until not all that long ago.
Oh, really?
A couple of decades, right?
That's it?
Oh, yeah. Because you used to be able to go with a driver's license. A U.S.-Canadian relations, I think it was after 9/11 really changed, just where everybody got more careful. But you used to be able to go in with your driver's license. They honored it.
I think it was mostly Canada saying, we have to stop these people from coming into our lovely country.
I'm sure. I don't blame them one bit, right? To be like, you know what, we're going to build a wall.
Yeah, enough of them. I know. We're talking about a wall somewhere else. They had the first idea.
They're like, you know what, why don't you guys stay down there?
And I know it's like folklore and legend, but it is one of the nicest countries ever, isn't it?
Yeah.
No, the people, though. I mean, they're so kind and...
I think because it's so very cold that they have to be nice to each other because they're just like, it's too cold. Hey, come in.
That's funny. We get miserable down here when it's cold.
Yeah.
And we get mean.
Well, right. Yeah. I think they're used to it and they just have to be nicer about it.
It's funny. We're so close to Canada, but we haven't really adopted their mannerisms or their, just their how they treat people.
Yeah. No, we could use a little more of that influence for sure. But, but they, and by the way, Canada was still Britain until, what was it, 1980s?
Yeah.
Right. That's when they officially broke away and became an independent nation. So, but yeah, so that was, and that's also one other thing with this story. You need to put it into the context of, there was the 1776, the War of Independence, but then there was also the War of 1812, which was considered the second American Revolution, right?
Yeah.
Like Britain was taking another stab at getting it back. So this was only like 20 years or so after that. So tensions are still a little hot between America and Britain.
They remember.
They do. They remember. That's what the license plate says, doesn't it? Just doesn't say that in English.
No.
It says it in French. They remember. But yeah, so this was sort of a tense moment, but people who had just lived there for decades, maybe generations, were just like, just decide and I'll put up whatever flag you ask me to put up, but don't tax me twice.
Right.
That's certainly very fair.
If you've got a story you'd like us to check out, please reach out to us anytime through our website. Most of our story leads come from you. Also, we truly appreciate it when you take a minute to post a review for us. Those reviews help other people find us in a crowded sea of podcasts. We appreciate all of us being in this mission together.
We would like to thank Carl Hutchinson, who so adeptly played a British person, because he is British, and Michael Legge for lending their voice acting talents this week. Thanks to our sponsors and our patrons, and our theme music is by John Judd.
Until next time, remember,
the bazaar is closer than you think.